Ever paid hundreds of dollars for a plane ticket, packed your bags, booked a hotel, and got stopped at Philippine immigration like you just committed a crime? Imagine officers asking about your GCash, your messages, your high school photos, and you don't even know why. Sounds familiar? Kung Pilipino ka, malamang naranasan mo rin to. Today, we're talking into why leaving the Philippines feels like an obstacle course, even when you've done everything right. What's up, everyone? It's Dee. Welcome back to my channel. This channel is where we talk about real Filipino experiences, the system that affect us, and the conversations we usually have in private, but I think should probably be talked about out loud. So if you are new here, consider subscribing to my channel, and if you've experienced Philippine immigration firsthand, this episode is for you. Let's start. For many Filipinos, immigration doesn't feel like a simple checkpoint. It feels like an interrogation, I'd say. You step up to the counter, hand over your passport, and suddenly it's,
Where are you going? What's the purpose of your travel? Who paid for your ticket? Why are you traveling alone? What do you do for work in the Philippines? Do you have proof that you're coming back?
and then for some people, it goes even further. May mga kwento na umaabot sa tanong like, can you show me your GCash account? Let that sink in for a moment. You're not even applying for a loan. You're not under investigation. You're simply trying to board a plane. And yet, you're being asked to show your personal mobile wallet, your private financial app. And at that moment, a lot of Filipinos freeze because you start thinking, tama ba to? Is this required? May, may karapatan ba silang hingin to? Kung tumanggi ako, lalo ba akong maharang, maki-question? And that's a problem, to be honest. Even when you answer everything properly, even when your documents are complete, you can still be asked to step aside. Doon ka muna sa gilid. Hindi dahil may ginawa kang mali, but because of suspicion. And if you've ever felt that anxiety, that pressure, that quiet fear while standing there, you're not alone. Maraming Pilipino ang may parehong karanasan. And that tells us something important. This isn't about one traveler doing something. This is about how power, discretion, and how fear intersect at immigration. And when moments like that happen, when you're asked to show your GCash, when you're questioned beyond what feels reasonable, the first reaction is usually anger or confusion. But before we jump to blame, we need to step back and ask a bigger question. Why does immigration even have this much power? Who decided these rules? And where does an officer authority actually begin and end? Because here's the thing, most of the time, the frustration Filipinos feel at immigration isn't really about one officer. It's about a system that gives broad laws and enforces them through human judgment. So, to understand why this keeps happening, we need to separate two things that are often confused. First one is who makes the law, and the second, who enforces it. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Here's something many people don't realize. Immigration officers do not make the law. The laws are made by Congress of the Philippines, and the intention behind those laws is protection. They were created to combat human trafficking, illegal recruitment, undocumented work abroad. These are real problems. They've ruined lives. The Bureau of Immigration, under the Department of Justice, is responsible for enforcing these laws. But here's the issue: the law is broad, and enforcement relies on discretion. That means officers are allowed to decide who looks high risk. And judgment is where everything gets complicated. Because when discretion is involved, we're no longer just talking about rules. We're talking about the real consequences. Now, let me share you a story that really illustrates this problem. I invited my best friend to travel with us back to Singapore. It was her first ever time traveling abroad. She's very simple, doesn't wear anything bougie, very down to earth, just a very simple girl. Now, when she got to immigration, she got stuck. Why? So they asked a ton of questions. They checked our photos together since high school. They asked for a message proving I invited her through Messenger, WhatsApp, or messages. They checked her GCash account, her certificate of employment. I literally said to myself, what the F? Luckily, she had everything ready. My husband and I had to vouch for her, and even then, it took a long time. We tried asking why it was taking so long. Singapore is visa free for Filipinos. She had a return ticket, a Universal Studios ticket. They even took my passport to make a copy. And now, here's my question: what if she was traveling alone? What if we weren't there to vouch for her? This is exactly the problem with discretion in immigration, because intent is invisible. Officers don't know her. They don't know me. Don't know her family or her history. What if they assumed she's going to work illegally? What if they thought she might overstay? What if they didn't believe her financial proof? Because if she was traveling alone, she could have she could have been pulled aside for hours waiting for nothing. Offloaded, even without doing anything wrong. Questioned and stressed in a way that could ruin her trip. Even with complete documents, the system relies heavily on judgment. And when that judgment is wrong, the damage is already done. Stress and fear, potential missed flights or reservations, humiliation at the counter, lost trust in the system, I'd say. And again, this is not just a hearsay. It happens all the time, especially for the first time travelers or those traveling alone. May mga Pilipino na kumayod, nag-ipon for months or years. Nagbayad ng flight tickets, hotel bookings, leave from work, only to be stopped at immigration? Come on, guys. Some are questioned aggressively. Some are treated coldly. Some encounter officers na parang suplada, very dismissive or visibly irritated. May mga moments na gusto mong sabihin or gusto mong tanungin, ma'am, sir, kung hindi ka masaya sa trabaho mo, mag-resign ka. Huwag mo kaming idamay kung bad mood ka today. It's not even a joke, it's a reality. And then comes the big question: can we sue them for all the damages? Here's the real answer. Immigration officers are public officers. So when they act within their official duties, they are protected by something called presumption of regularity. Meaning, in the law assumes they acted properly unless proven otherwise. So, if someone is offloaded due to reasonable suspicion, even if the judgment turns out to be wrong, that alone is usually not enough to win damages. And yes, that feels unfair. Kasi nalugi ka eh. Gumastos ka pa. Na-stress ka pa, di ba? But protection disappears when there is a grave abuse of authority, harassment of humiliation, bad faith, or invented requirements like kailangan may certificate ka from outer space or dapat yung plane ticket mo may autograph ni Ariana Grande. Coercion, like forcing voluntary withdrawal, asking for GCash access, private messages, or making decisions based on mood or bias. Those are no longer protected actions. And at that point, Filipinos can file complaints with the Bureau of Immigration Legal Division, escalate to the Department of Justice, go to the Office of Ombudsman, and in serious cases, seek legal remedies. So yes, accountability exists, but it requires awareness and documentations. Because stories like this are why we need change. The answer isn't removing protection. Filipinos do need safeguards abroad, but we also need a clear, public, and consistent rules. So first time travelers know exactly what's required. Standardized enforcement, so two travelers with the same documents are treated the same. Better officer training for empathy and understanding of a real traveler situations. Real accountability. So discretion doesn't turn into harassment. Protection should guide travelers and not to punish them. If my best friend had traveled alone without us, she might have been unfairly delayed or worse, offloaded. That's why system reform matters. This conversation isn't anti immigration, it's pro Filipino dignity. Sharing experiences, asking questions, and understanding the system is how we start change. So, kung may natutunan ka sa episode na to, share it because awareness is the first step toward making travel safer for everyone. Thanks everyone for watching. This is Dee and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!